Hey guys, if you like this podcast, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and spread the word.
Spread the word, bird.
All right.
All right. What are we talking about today?
We're ready here. So refis, we're going to go with refis first, right? All right, friends and family and everybody out there, loan officers included. Today, we're jumping back on a topic that we've touched on a few times here, and this is about refinances. We're talking about refinances, restructuring your loan, and setting yourself up for a better future. Why would I refinance? Is it the right time to refinance? Is it worth it? All these questions that we hear daily. Loan officers and real estate agents alike might be thinking that they're waiting for something or that the timing's not right. But the real question is when it's right for you and what steps do you need to do to get in the best situation, whether that's now, whether that's in 6 months, whether that's in a year, or whether that's in 2 years.
Right.
So with that,
what are some reasons someone might want to refinance? That's a good, some good reasons why.
Yeah. Let's start with that. I mean, what's the main reason is you're trying to save money.
Right.
So from a loan officer's perspective, how I look at it is my job is to put you in a better position than you were before.
Right.
Whether that's saving money on a monthly, whether that's getting rid of other debts that are costing you more than you can afford, whether that's getting the cash to put towards something else that you can't afford right now. Right. Or I need to save, or it's better than a different type of loan, or whatever the case is. At the end of the day, when you're doing a refinance and if you're a loan officer, your purpose is to make somebody's situation better. Right. So it's to find out what the problem is. I think with people that are with loan officers or anybody that's just doing refinances, they have to be really good at problem solving.
Right. Exactly.
Because if we're not just selling a dream. When you buy a house, it's like excitement, it's emotion, it's all this other stuff, right? You're selling the dream. And we'll talk about that in another podcast because it might be the wrong approach. I mean, sell the dream, sell the payment, dream about the payment more than the house you want to buy, right?
Right.
But on the refinances, you have to be good at finding what the problem is. And from a consumer standpoint, you have to know what your problem is and why you need it, right? And what steps you might need to take because, maybe the market gets way better, but are you ready for the best refinance or restructure you can possibly get?
Right.
That's the question.
That's the question.
And a lot of people are waiting to do it, but they're not prepared to do it. And when the time comes that it's the best situation for them, they might not be getting the best deal for them.
Right.
So that, to me, that's what the refinance is. It's literally restructuring your loan, putting it in a better situation, whether it's debts, whether it's student loans, whether it's savings, whether it's I want to use my equity to buy another house, whether it's I want to fix up my house, whether it's I'm going to fix up my house to sell it in a couple of years. I got kids going to school. I want to get a car, but that doesn't make sense on the payment wise. I need a lower payment. I mean, I need to get somebody off the title, the loan. I need to add somebody to the loan or title. So there's a lot of reasons that you would want to do it and that it would make sense to do.
Right. You could have bought a house in the last 2 years at 7.5%, and they're in the 5s now.
Yeah.
You save yourself a few $100s in payment.
And that's the best one you want to do is the rate and term to lower your payment. Assuming you're on top of it, you don't have credit card debts, you don't have any kids going to school, you don't need money, or you already got other reasons set up for that. Are you setting yourself up to do even a rate and term refinance, which lowers your payment, lowers the interest that you pay over an amortized period and everything else? But are you ready? Because a lot of people don't understand how loans work, and they work like with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which is like your traditional, regular, conforming type of loan that most people want to get. They have a little thing called loan level price adjustments. And these are all the little adjustments that might affect you based off your credit score, how much equity you have, what state you live in, right? They're called LLPAs. So if you do look at a loan and you want to know if your pricing seems off, ask what LLPAs are, loan level price adjustments.
The biggest thing I see on this is, oh, my neighbor down the street got a 5-point this rate. Why am I getting a 6-point something? Well, you don't have 800 credit. Your whole situation is totally different. And that's what those level price adjustments are, right? For the
100%. Yeah.
So
Everybody's different. You're not your neighbor. If you're in the identical situation, then theoretically you get the
right,
the exact terms and everything, right?
right,
On that day and everything else. But most of us are individuals. We have different lifestyles. We
right,
live differently. We can say right now, from what we see right now, because like our marketing is targeting a lot of people that have FHA loans, for example, right? That got a lot of equity. Maybe they can get out of that FHA loan, or maybe they need the cash for other debts or whatnot. But if their credit's not up to par to get them out of that FHA, then they're not going to be ready for it. They can't qualify now, and they won't qualify even if the rates come down 1 or 2%. They still wouldn't qualify for it.
And we talk about it might be a 2-step process for this later on.
Most people
are in a 2-step
process.
Yep.
Whatever the reason is right now in this market, how it is it's a 2-step process. So we want to talk and educate our clients, say, what do I need to do now? Make a plan, stick to the plan. So 6 months, a year, whatever it is down the road, I can go and restructure that in the best situation possible without any adjustments, because I got my credit good, I got my equity good, my income's on track, and I don't have a lot of other things hanging over my head, bills and whatnot that are going to prevent me from getting that best deal possible.
Right, right.
So I think that's important to know right now. Like, if you're not on the perfect track, you're not already set up, or you got some things to take care of, don't wait until the market's pristine. Take care, plan it right now, get things taken care of. So we talked to a lot of people like, let's pay off all these debts. Let's wait. Let's give the time to, get your payment down a little bit now, and let's get it down a few $100 more, when the rates drop, because you won't have to do an FHA loan, or you have equity where you don't need mortgage insurance, or you have great credit now and it's not affecting you. Right. So those are things that we're really focusing on right now to try to help people out.
Yeah, it's a plan for the future to get you to that dream, that promised land that you hopefully want to be super comfortable with your payment and everybody's happy. Good credit, everything. So
and what happens if you don't do it now?
We see it a lot. Everybody's a month late on their payment. They start, I have $1,000 in minimum credit card bills I'm paying, so they miss a mortgage payment or they're late. They don't qualify now. They waited a month too long, 3 months too long, this and that. You can't get it done. You didn't take that first step to refinance now to fix yourself up for later on to be good.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's happening, but a lot of that's because people have lower rates than what they're at right now. They don't want to change, and they get stuck in the situation where they can't change. So
yeah,
it's a bad beat for them. I mean, as far as the whole situation. So
yeah, I think, unfortunately, I've seen, over 20 years doing this, right? And I've seen a percentage of people that do what you just said. They wait till it's too long or something. None of us know the future. You might not have a job or be looking for a different job in a month or 2 months from now. There might be a transfer of a debt to another company that gives you a late that you weren't expecting, and you can't get it reversed. You don't know what the future holds, but I would say over my 20 years, there's always, a small percentage of people that are waiting for something, waiting for it to get a little bit better before they make that move. And it costs a good percentage of those.
It rarely works out in your favor.
Rarely works out. Yeah. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, right? You don't know the future. And when I see that happen, I actually look back at myself and I critique myself. Like, how did I not get through to that person or make them understand? Because that's our job, right? We're here to educate. We're here to hold people's hands and show them benefit, show them how to do simple math to know if it makes sense for them or not. So yeah, when I look at those situations, I'm like, what could I have done better to get through this person? Could I have done a visual? Could I have explained it differently, or teach them differently, teach myself differently on a better way to express it to them? But yeah, you're right. That happens a lot. People miss out on the opportunities because it's not a plan. It's kind of like the young entrepreneur right now that like sees it on Instagram or TikTok where, oh, I went from living on my couch to making $10 million in a month, or in 6-month period.
Right.
It doesn't really happen, right? That's not really the case.
Those
usually
one-offs.
Yeah. It takes time and you got to plan things accordingly. And that's really up to people in their control of how long that's going to take. So
right.
I look at it like, if it works now, it can only be better later on.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, people can't get out of their own way sometimes, but you can do the best you can. I know you said you reflect on it, but yeah, you can lay it out for them, give them that plan, but ultimately you can only lead them, and they can't, they have to make that decision, which we see a lot failed to make that decision, and that's why they're in trouble sometimes. So
Right.
I always try to point out, we have 30-year mortgages for most people, and not everybody owns their home outright, but most people don't finish their 30 years. So I tell people it's not such a terrible idea to give up their 2.5%, 3.5% rate if it's going to help them over the next 5 years or 10 years, if it makes sense. So I try and look at that with people and lay it out and say, hey, you're not, you might sell the house in 2 years. You carrying that 3% and struggling is not going to help you in the long run. So getting those points, it's hard because I think people have pride in their mortgage rate. They're like, I don't want to go higher. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But if it's benefiting you, that's what you have to look at. So over the big picture. So
we have that
picture.
new ad out right now that we're putting out too, which is kind of to throw everybody off a little bit, or if nothing else, get you thinking, right? But it literally says refinance now and take a higher rate, right? And then the tagline is more of what is your blended rate or something like that, right? Realize what your blended rate is. And that's what we want to look at for people. And actually, honestly, where the rates are right now, they're actually getting better than a lot of people, especially if you bought in the last couple of years, right? 3 years or whatever. They're still better than what you have now, but they might be a little higher. But if you're taking care of debts or something like that, then that blended rate is going to make a big difference. That's taking the 25% credit card and the 11%. Honestly, it's funny. Like we were looking at student loans because I'm against student loans, but my son really wants it. So we're just like looking at it. I'm like, I'll give you a loan at 1% less or whatever that is, personal loan. But I couldn't believe student loans are 10.5 to 11.5% right now.
I think right now, when I was a student, I think they were between 5.5 and 7.5. So I don't know if that adjusts.
The one we were on last week, I think it was, or the week before, it started at different payment plans. It's 10 or 10.5%, and that's if you're actually paying the full interest. Most of them are like a portion, like $25 a month or something. So you're no negative. And then we looked at this and I did the math. I said, you can do this if you know that your, $15,000 loan is really going to cost you $34,000. Are you okay with that?
Right.
And that's at 10%. That's at the best program because I was like, don't go with the deferred. They have the deferred one too, which is another $5,000 at the end of the day.
Yeah. For
a small amount like that. But anyways, like I said, you take all those rates, 10% student loan or 5 or whatever it is, and 4% or 6% mortgage or whatever you have, credit cards, auto loans, cash on hand and everything else, and kind of mix that into one to see if that makes sense.
People don't look at them together. They completely separate them and they can't blend them like you're saying.
Yeah.
You have 3% on your $300,000 house and you have $50,000 at 15%, let's say, combined with the credit cards, this and that. Your combined rate is most likely 6, 7, 8%. Something like that. So you taking everything, combining into a 5% mortgage right now, why wouldn't you do that? Save you thousands of dollars each month and just the struggle with making payments.
100%. Well, and here's the thing. People think they're making a decision that they're going to be stuck with. You're never stuck with this decision. This is called leverage. This is how very smart people who manage money do on a daily basis, is leveraging money.
Right.
Like I'm leveraging I don't want to take my car loan out to 30 years. Well, you're not going to have this mortgage for 30 years. Very few people, very, very, very few people have a mortgage the full term. Right. They refinance, they sell, they pay it off, they get inheritance, whatever happens, right? It's never that long. It's leverage. I'm leveraging it now so I can be more effective or have more cash flow, which then I could put into savings, and then I could pay extra off. So like when we look at this blended rate, it's like, oh, you'll pay the car off in 5 years. You'll pay the mortgage off in 27 more years. You'll pay these credit cards off in probably 70 years at the rate you're going.
Right.
If I blend that all together, and even if I can afford the payments I'm at right now, I might be able to pay everything off in 15 years, mortgage, credit cards, and car. It's just how you want to leverage it.
It's funny how people will think so short term, but then when you say you're going to combine it into a mortgage for 30 years, they're thinking out to 2055. I'm like, how did you just go from one thing to the other? But you can't think like that. So I don't know. It's such a bizarre, it's such a mind twist how people think sometimes. So
yeah. So like I said, with that, I would say, restructure, refinance. If it makes sense, you have to talk to somebody. It has to be explained and you have to understand it. right? So you can't have somebody explain it to you and you don't understand it, and don't nod your head yes if you don't. You need to ask the questions to make sure you actually understand it.
Right.
Like I said, it's not for everybody, but it is for a lot, and a lot more as we come into 2024 and going into 2025, where there is more debt for the average homeowner, the average consumer right now. Again, like I said, if it works good enough right now, if it makes sense, it's only going to get better. Make a plan, set yourself up for success. Don't be wondering, if you don't do anything a year from now, like Will said earlier, why is my neighbor getting a 5% and I'm getting a 5.5%? Well, it's probably because those loan level price adjustments that we talked about
Right.
are not the same. You have different adjustments. You have different risk adjustments, basically, that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA and everybody else is going to say you fit in that box, basically.
You didn't pay off all your credit cards and you're maxed out and your credit's 580. Your neighbor down the street paid everything off. They're at 760. They can get the lower rate and lower payment at that time. So
yeah, don't try to know how every program works. Know how to find out what works for you. Right. So you're never going to learn them all anyways.
I don't think you would want to as a consumer.
I don't know them all, but we're good at finding problems and we're good at finding resolutions. And that's what makes somebody an actual asset who brings value to hopefully your decision or how you run your business, if you are in the business, to kind of keep that in perspective and keep that mindset.
Right. No, I totally agree. And not everybody should refinance. Not everybody needs to right now. So maybe wait 6 months, maybe take a smaller little loan or whatever to fix your whatever problem. So there is different ways, but
if it's a credit problem, get that going. Get into credit repair. Start fixing that now, not later.
Right. Because you're only shooting yourself in the foot. It's going to make things worse 10 times fold later on. So
yeah. Yep. So yeah, I hope loan officers and people in the industry are helping others set a plan and figure out a plan for the future. And I hope, as a homeowner, or if you are struggling, or if you have any of these situations and anything like rings a bell that might be something that you're in, that you start taking action now and at least find out what kind of options that you have, and not wait till it's too late.
Yeah. Make a plan.
Don't
wait till it plans for you. Yeah.
Yeah. You either make a plan or life plans it for you, one or the other. So
you'll be out. So yeah.
So I hope that helps. Keep checking back here. We'll keep going on this train, I'm sure, with refinances over the next year and a half, because it's a big deal right now for a lot of people to start getting things set up. Not getting excited that rates are going to go back to 2 or 3%, because I don't think they are, but it's a way to get yourself in a better situation and getting prepared for the future.
Absolutely. All right.
Till next time.
Thanks, guys.